folks, beautiful day out here at Contentment. Chip and Robert here. And we just got through setting up our survey stakes, so it's easier for us to find the corners of the property. I was so glad to find them so that we didn't have to pay a surveyor. It was going to cost up to $1,200 to have this thing surveyed and replatted. And so thankful to be able to find those pins. This subdivision, if that's what you want to call it, was surveyed first surveyed in the 1970s, and we honestly weren't sure if we were going to find the pins for this, because talking to a couple surveyors, I learned that some of the surveyors who did this work out here, I'm told, used anything they could find to mark a boundary corner. Anything from stuff they would go to the junkyard or the like the thrift store or something to find to use as a boundary marker, like an old tent stake or something like that, and that they didn't cap the pins to identify the lots. Well, we lucked out here. It looks like they did a proper job of surveying. One of the pins fell over. However, I was able to, in the sand, immediately where it fell, where the tip of the pin was resting, I was able to put my finger right down in the sand, and I could feel the original hole that pin was in. So as you saw in the video, I just drove it straight back down into the soil right where it was, and then put our larger fluorescent marking pins on to make it easier to find them and make it easier to lay out our site survey and things like that. You look at this landscape and you think, why did they choose this? Because it does seem to be a pretty barren place. I mean, you've got the beautiful mountains all the way around and the beautiful scenery, but this place is teeming with wildlife. There's a lot of life out here in this, sort of alpine desert climate. And the weather cannot be beat for most of the year. I mean, it gets cold and snowy and damp in the winters for sure. The summers, though, are never above about 80 or 85 degrees. It is a dry climate and dependent on water, heavily dependent upon groundwater and rainfall, but still a very beautiful place, a very quiet place, and a very freedom-loving place, which is important to me. Another reason that we chose this is because this area of the country, this particular area here, gets upwards of 333 days of sunlight per year. And that's a lot of sunlight. It's perfect for solar. And if you know anything about solar, you know that the colder climate that solar panels operate in, the more power they give. So solar power, solar modules, panels, operate much more efficiently in this climate where you have cold weather and high sunshine than they do in any other conditions. That's one. But cool summer temps. This particular area we're in the Intermountain West, is close to a lot of fun activities that family and friends will enjoy. There's skiing nearby, there's fishing nearby, world-class fishing in fact. There are just all kinds of things to explore and enjoy. You've got a lot of history here. It's just an all-around attractive place, and perhaps one of the better kept secrets in the country. Sort of remote. Yes, there are people around, and the nearest town's about 15 miles away. And that town has, just about everything you would need to get you by. But it's quiet out here. The only thing I hear is my own voice and the ringing in my ears and the wind a little bit. But it is beautiful, quiet, peaceful, and a totally different change of scenery from where we came from. Another important reason why we chose this spot is because there aren't any building codes. And for those of you who want to live off-grid or build a natural home like we do, you'll know that finding a place without building codes and strict building code enforcement is important to us. Surrounding counties in this area do have building codes, and they enforce them very strictly, and they incidentally are some of the strongest building codes in the nation. But in this particular area there are none. Now there are land use codes, and those land use codes require certain setbacks. The house will have to be set back from a boundary line by a certain number of feet. There are certain structures and sizes that have to be built, and the county here requires a septic system, which I wasn't really big on, but I do have an idea on how to work with that that I'll share in a later video. But it does require a septic system, which involves engineering. It means I have to hire an engineer to come out, do a site survey, do some soil tests, perk tests, things like that, and make sure that the soils are adequate for a septic system. But anyway, those are, some of the reasons we chose this.